Thank you everyone for joining us for today's webinar. My name is Erica and I'm going to be here to help you with any of your technical issues that you might have with the Zoom console. So what I'm going to really quickly do before we go into the presentation itself is just kind of go through what you should be able to see on there. So as you saw here, we had the chat. We asked though that for the rest of the presentation, if you please don't use that, instead use the Q&A to ask any questions. We will be answering all questions at the end of the presentation. Also, if we are recording this event, so it will be available in the next couple of business days. So if anything comes up that you want to come back to and see, we'll be making those available along with the slides. So with that, I'm going to hand this over to the first speaker of the day to kind of go through what the agenda is. And so here we're going to have Roger Mazzella, who is our Senior Product Manager for Medical.
All right, thanks, Erica. Well, everybody, thank you for joining us today. We will be discussing, as you know, the Qt for Medical offering. Let me go ahead and first introduce myself and introduce my co-speaker today. So as Erica said, I'm Roger Mazzella. I'm the Senior Product Manager for the medical vertical for Qt. I'm actually based in Boston, Massachusetts. My colleague Petra Sarachi is a product manager out of our Berlin office. And the best way I can describe Petra is he is a gentleman who is very familiar with Qt, has been using Qt for a very long time. I call him the utility knife, the Swiss Army knife of product managers. He just has a wealth and a whirlwind of knowledge, and he'll be assisting me today in going over our offering for the medical industry. So before we start diving in, what I wanted to do was just take a look at what do our current Qt for medical customers value. Now, Qt has been around, as many of you know, for quite some time. We were part of a number of different companies, including Trolltech and Nokia and Digia. Within the last year and a half or so, we divested, and now we are the Qt company. But you know, for the last couple of decades, you know, we have been embedded into and medical devices have been developed with Qt inside. But you know, it was over the past year or so that I've been working with the Qt company where we actually organized our approach to the medical industry. So going very deep and immersing ourselves in the medical industry and coming up with this offering for the medical device industry. So you know, looking at what Qt medical customers value, just a few bullet points. First, the capability to create safe, effective, and intuitive user experiences with uncompromising performance and reliability. It sounds like a lot of words, but what I'd like you to do is just imagine a nurse in an operating room, or in, better yet, an emergency room. There might be as many as 10 medical devices on a patient. And you know, the nurse's center of focus should be that patient. He or she does not need to babysit a number of medical devices to make sure that they are working, that they are reliable, that they're running properly, that their field of focus should always be on that patient. So with Qt, you know, you have the capability of creating these modern experiences, but yet they are still very safe, effective, and reliable, and you know, for the folks that are working on that patient. We have the ability, or allow people the ability to get to market faster with not only the best-in-class technology to help you develop faster, but access to Qt's industry-leading partnerships would help maybe navigate the regulatory process for medical devices. And we'll be speaking a little bit about that later. As many of you know, Qt is a cross-platform development environment. What does that mean? Doesn't matter what you're developing upon. If you're developing a software as a medical device, as an app, you know, on Android or iOS, or on embedded devices, on different types of operating systems, different types of hardware. It doesn't matter. We're cross-platform compatible, and you code once and can deploy anywhere. And then we fully support our customers' regulatory and compliance processes. What does that mean? Well, we'll be talking a little bit about that towards the end of the presentation when we start talking about our approach to regulatory. And finally, as I mentioned, you know, Qt has been part of the medical industry for a number of years. think our first medical device we were embedded in was about 2 decades ago. So we are a development platform that is embedded into FDA class 1, 2, and 3 devices and EU certified class 1A, 2A, 1, 2A, 2B, and 3 medical devices currently on the market today. So what does that mean? We're in the highest risk devices and still very safe and very effective. So here's where we're going to be talking about today. So the Qt for Medical offering includes obviously product features and functionality. And then we have an approach to regulatory and compliance, which we'll be discussing. And then finally, how are we as a company, Qt as a company, engaging the medical industry, being thought leaders and innovators in the medical industry? And we're going to tie up our talk today with that. So without further ado, what I'd like to do is hand this over the controls over to Petrov and allow him to discuss some highlighted product functionality for the medical industry.
Right. So thank you, Roger, for that. And thank you for inviting me today in this webinar. So I'm very happy to briefly cover a few particular topics on Qt and basically what are we offering as for the medical offering as I'm sorry, just jumping back on the slides. Yeah, right. So I just want to cover kind of a brief agenda on what Qt is, kind of introduce you to that, talk a little bit about our Qt device creation offering and what does that include in the technologies that Qt provides to create beautiful user interfaces, what are some of the toolings in Qt, and also last but not least, the safe render feature in Qt. Great. So perhaps some of you may already know what Qt is, but just to briefly kind of bring some context here. So Qt is a modern C++ framework. I think Roger already kind of mentioned that. It's a modern framework with a vast set of APIs and modules that allows you to create sophisticated products and applications. Of course, that also comes together with a set of tools, and all of those are very well integrated together. And Qt being a cross-platform as such, using those tools, you're able to actually reach multiple platforms and multiple operating systems at once. And the third pillar, and not the least one, is the integrated development environment, right? The Qt Creator IDE and also the other design tools, as we will see later on, that actually boost the productivity and enhance the whole overall workflow between developers and designers. Right, so yes, Qt is a cross-platform library. Qt is a cross-platform framework, so it allows you to create applications, software services that can be deployed across different set of hardware, different set of operating systems, being those in the embedded space, such as Linux, Windows Embedded, or real-time operating systems like VxWorks and Integrity, which I'm pretty sure you're very familiar with in the medical space. But as well as the desktop and the mobile, so pretty much you are able to reach to those platforms with one single code base. Right, so what is now the value proposition of the Qt device creation? So Qt for device creation is a package that basically brings all together Qt and all the necessary tools in order to speed up the development for embedded hardware. So of course, being in an embedded context, right? So performance is absolutely one of those crucial elements that Qt delivers. Being a C++ framework as such, you have full control of your whole stack and you have full access to the hardware, basically, accessing directly to the native APIs of your hardware. And of course, being a C++, you can optimize and compile your engine, you can compile your stack that can actually match the hardware requirements. But Qt is not just about performance, right? It comes as well with a set of modules to create modern and stunning user interfaces, right? And we will see that later on in the slides. Now, all of those tools and all of those libraries and framework, right, enable you to create basically an environment that you can start prototyping, deploying, and developing right from day one. So with device creation, you are shortening the time to market by utilizing all these features that Qt delivers you. And last but not least, we have a vast network of different type of technology partners, being those in the hardware or also in the platform, such as the Integrity and BXWorks, which we are very closely working with. Right, so if we look at the package itself, like what does it really contain, then this is kind of giving a high level overview basically. So we see here the Qt toolkit. So that is kind of the core framework as such, which is composed, of course, between several modules. So we have the essential modules, right? So think of like multi-threading, networking, or accessing and managing a database, different core libraries basically to help and build your application infrastructure or product infrastructure in terms of software. Now, on top of that, we have additional modules, we call them add-ons, and those add-ons bring additional functionality, kind of like turnkey functionality. So we have data visualization, we have charts. Think of like basically being able to simply model your data and then map that data model into a data visualization, and that is a seamless process within Qt basically. Now, this is, let's say, the Qt kit. The Qt toolkit as such, right, containing the core and essentials and the additional add-ons. And then on top of that, we have the specific embedded APIs. So on the left side, we have, as you see on the slide, we have the virtual keyboard, we have the software render, basically utilizing the frame buffer of the hardware to render the UI. And we also have additional APIs, for example, managing the screen, the brightness, or turning off and on Wi-Fi, for example, for your hardware. So these are easy to use APIs, basically, that you can immediately utilize in your project. On the right side, we have what we call the embedded tooling. And the embedded tooling comes with lots of tools to optimize, debug, and troubleshoot your software stack. We also give you means to actually create your own stack, and I will talk about that later. But last but not least is the device emulator. So with the device emulator, basically we give you this desktop emulation so that, let's say in a case where you don't have the final hardware, where you want to test your user interface, you want to test your software stack, you want to test your application logic, then you can do that pretty much into the using the device emulator. Last is the boot to Qt software stack, but I will talk about that slightly later. Great. So one of the most again crucial features was performance. Right, we're talking about embedded development, and therefore hardware form factors are absolutely one of the most strongest constraints in embedded development. So considering that, we are providing the necessary tools, and we call it the Qt Lite Configuration Tool. So it's a configuration tool. It's a tool that allows you to build different set of configurations for Qt, right? So you want, let's say, you want to use Qt and all the modules that Qt gives you, but not necessarily deploy that into the embedded. Not necessarily you may want to use all the modules, right? So you want to kind of fine tune and remove the unneeded modules, or even further than that. You may want to use a module, but you want to kind of customize the features of that module. So it gives you a lot of configuration flexibility, basically, to build Qt the way you need it for your hardware. Now, having said that, with Qt Lite, basically, you are able to scale down in terms of footprint. So obviously, if you are able to remove unnecessary features of Qt, definitely you are able to occupy a smaller footprint in the hardware. Now, these, of course, will lead to faster application loading time, right? Being such a smaller library, of course, takes a lot less time to load. And of course, we also allow you to do static linking, basically, that makes the whole build a lot more optimized. So performance and compatibility are natural results out of this. So you're able to get the best performance, and definitely you're able to make your stack compatible with your hardware. Right. So moving up. Now, of course, scaling down is one approach to embedded development, or let's say one use case, one scenario, but then there is also needs where you want to visualize powerful graphics, right? And that's another area that Qt really shines. So Qt provides basically a software render that is using the GPU. It's entirely based on OpenGL, and therefore it gives you full utilization of the GPU, and that results into a 60 frames per second UI basically. So of course, utilizing OpenGL and having based an OpenGL software render, then you are also able to create 3D applications of any kind of type. So think of virtual and augmented reality as such. Great, moving forward. So we talked about boot to Qt software stack. I briefly mentioned that. So what is this? So the boot to Qt software stack is a reference stack based on Linux. So this is based on Yocto Linux, basically. We believe that Yocto Linux is a very widely spread Linux for embedded development. It has become quite an industry standard, I would say. And what we did with that is we took Yocto, we pre-integrated Qt into it. We also made the tool chain ready, and we also went further and created pre-built images, basically, that you can start to use from day one. So think of, for example, hardware families like IMX6 or even Raspberry Pis and whatnot, and then you can just use our pre-built images to start prototyping and start testing your products, start testing your business logic, start testing your UI from day one. Great. Now moving forward to from the software stack now and the overall stack, let's move a little bit to the user interface creation and what are some of the offerings at Qt. So I will start with the Qt widget. So Qt widget has come a long way. It's about 20 years now. It's a C++ set of UI controls instead of UI APIs. It was traditionally created for desktop-like user interfaces. So it really has this desktop nature in that. However, it does not limit you to use it in an embedded space as well, of course. And that is a pure C++ set of APIs. On the left side, we have what we call the Qt Quick, basically the Qt Quick module that also utilizes the QML language. Now, both of those are in-house developed technologies for the last 10 years now. And we believe that this is the future moving forward. And I will talk about that later. Now, the web and the hybrid approach is something more interesting. So we are also providing a web engine, basically in Qt, a very powerful web engine that is based actually on Chromium. And that allows you to actually render HTML5 and web apps and also integrate basically, integrate also the native part with your HTML5 application. We call this the hybrid approach, where you are mixing different type of technologies, C++, QML, and also HTML. So this is all possible basically. Right, moving forward. Now, I talked about Qt Quick and QML just briefly. So what is that? So Qt Quick and QML is the new approach. It's a new paradigm that we have introduced about 10 years ago in Qt. QML is an in-house developed language. It's a pure declarative language. It's very similar to CSS and actually Java object notation, like the JSON file. So it looks like very, very easy to read. And it's a language that actually makes designers feel comfortable. But at the same time, QML also allows you to decouple the user interface from your rest of, or let's say from the rest of the stack. So you could easily kind of work in parallel, where you can create different user interfaces, schemes, themes, and maybe even reuse some of that for maybe different product types and different product families, right? While you can also work in parallel for the rest of the stack. So your business logic or your domain-specific application logic that can stay in C++ and doesn't have to impact or disrupt the user interface. Great. Right, so of course, Qt Quick and QML comes with a lot of out-of-the-box controls. We call them Qt Quick controls. As you can see here in the slide, I have taken a screenshot of some of those. Of course, there's a lot more, and those controls come with capabilities to scheme and create your own themes on that. Of course, we have created several themes and styles, basically. We're creating the material style, the universal style, fusion style, and several more, basically. Right, moving forward on the 3D side. So, okay, we talked about QML, we talked about Qt Quick. Sure, there's a lot of components that can be used out of the box. What about 3D? Now, 3D is yet another strong part of Qt. So we have been working on Qt 3D for quite some time now. I would say about 10 years or so. And Qt 3D is a very powerful set of APIs that allows you to create 3D content fairly easy, basically, with very simple APIs. On top of that, we also have created several turnkey solutions like the data visualization, which I mentioned earlier. So the data visualization, think of it something like ready to use and out-of-the-box components for charts, right? Think of like if you want to draw different type of charts like pies in the 3D or bars or slice and things like that. Those are working out of the box for you. All you need to take care is to create your data model. And for that, of course, Qt provides the necessary APIs. Now, last but not least, of course, is accessing directly OpenGL, of course. So we don't limit you in any way. So Qt, even though provides its high-level APIs, we do give you access to directly reach out to OpenGL, right? And do your custom OpenGL code and actually mix and match all of that with Qt. Great. Now moving into tools, basically into tooling. So, right, we saw the software stack, we saw the UI technologies, and now, of course, we're looking at the tooling side. So Qt comes, and Qt device creation comes with a lot of tools that makes you, that enables you to design and develop basically fairly easy, fairly fast. And I will also talk about that later. Also, the tools give you the possibility to actually fine-tune your code, to test your code, fine-tune it, analyze it. And this is where it actually gets very interesting, right? Because with these tools, the productivity of the developer is so empowered, right? Because they are able to find the problems right from day one, right? So we are providing static analyzers, so you can basically analyze your C++ code and see if there's any problems with that. But we're also providing analyzers and profilers also for the QML, for the UI, basically. So you're able to understand where the bottlenecks are in your code if you're doing something wrong. Right, so now I'm gonna move to the design tools. And maybe it's kind of worth saying that we are soon launching a new product called the Design Studio. And Qt Design Studio is a design-only environment that allows designers and developers to collaborate and work together efficiently. So we understand that the designers and developers are somewhat in a different type of environments, right? The designers have their own tools and their own environment. So designers work with Photoshop, Sketch, Illustrator, and so forth. And while developers, of course, are into the compilers, into the editors, and of course are busy creating the application logic, integrating their software into the hardware. So we see here, there's a bit of a gap, right? There's a bit of a wall, so to say, where the designers have to exchange, right? They have to throw over, so to say, their design concept, the design ideas over to the developers. And this kind of process takes a lot of time. And of course, imagine a scenario where the problems are really kind of found out very late into the process. And that is a costly thing. That costs a lot. Not only time, but also basically you are also missing out from the opportunity to reach out to the market. Great. So what does the Design Studio does? The Design Studio it's a drag and drop environment that allows you to easily prototype, create user interfaces, create screens, manage the states of the screen, handle user input and user interaction, create powerful animations, all of that in just one tool. Now, of course, this is actually working on top of QML. So it's not an environment where it's creating a runtime that is a black box. No, it's actually working on QML. So all the work you do in Design Studio, it actually outputs pure QML that is readable, maintainable, and manageable. But at the same time, that QML is absolutely readable by developers. So one of the things that the designers can easily do basically is, for example, import the design work directly into the Design Studio from Photoshop. That will automatically create all the necessary components, all the necessary layout. It will position all the UI elements that you did in Photoshop, just like you had in Photoshop. It will automatically create them for you. And the designer can immediately see the design. They can add features to that. They can animate that. They can mock up data to that. At the same time, they can also preview that. They can natively run that design onto the embedded target. So they can easily see from day one if their design matches the screen, the resolution, the form factor, as well. Also help developers understand what are the designers trying to achieve, right? Because in the end of the day, it's QML. Great. So if I had to summarize basically some of the key benefits of that. So yes, with the design tools and the Design Studio, you are able to do faster iterations, right? You're able to deliver faster prototypes. You're able to actually test and validate fast your user interface. Of course, that will also help and actually improve predictability, because you're able to validate as early as possible. You're able to actually fail early as possible, and that is a big benefit that results into lower costs, of course. And one of the most important part here is that even though the designer can iterate with his own design, right, with Photoshop and Design Studio, in the end of the day, all that prototype is not thrown away. That is actual UI code. That is QML code that can be later on used directly and integrate with the rest of the stack. I think that's very powerful. Great. So moving forward to the last part, that's the safe render. So right, we talked about the user interface and we talked about the tooling. Now we understand that medical devices have this critical critical nature in there, where imagine a scenario, a case where the whole medical device is having a problem, right? And there are some critical data in there that you definitely don't want them to go away, no matter what happened with the user interface. And that's what the safe render does. So the safe render allows you to actually mark separate parts of your user interface as safety critical parts, and those will always stay regardless of what happens to the rest of the user interface, or to the rest of the stack for that matter. So that is a crucial part, basically. So that, of course, it's a reference implementation basically today, so it needs to be integrated directly with the hardware and with the operating system, and that is why it is absolutely safe. So that this is completely decoupled from Qt, and so whatever happens to your software stack that is built with Qt, this is untouched, unimpacted whatsoever. Now, there's a lot more to it, but I think I would rather keep it fairly high level today. And I think with that, I would like to hand over to Roger.
Okay, thanks, Petra. So again, trying to give you a sense of the different tool sets, features, and functionality that is available in Qt, and get some ideas and create some thought process of how it can be used to design and develop medical devices. So the second part of the talk today, we're going to start talking about our approach to the regulatory processes and clearances that you need to do in the medical industry. So the way I like to look at it is kind of a 3 travel lane regulatory approach. For those of you who are based in Boston, you might recognize this picture. This is the Tip O'Neill Tunnel, the entrance to it. So it's pretty appropriate with our office being in Boston and myself being physically located in Boston. But if we look at this as a 3 travel lane regulatory approach, as Qt is looking at the regulatory environment, we look at lane 1 as, well, what is Qt certified to? What certifications does Qt hold? Lane 2 would be, okay, now Qt is going to help support your regulatory and compliance efforts. And what I'll go into is some of the things that we can provide to you with regards to testing and validation and performance data and whatnot. So again, supporting what you need to do, building that nice vendor file on Qt, showing and demonstrating that you have de-risked us as a vendor. And then lane 3, we've had many customers come to us and say, well, gee, I really need help with an FDA certification, or I really need help with an EU market clearance process. And we've had bigger customers that said, well, look, I've got full regulatory teams that handle FDA and EU, but gee, I want to go into that next market. When you look at how medical device companies can increase their revenue, they can do one of 2 things. They can develop more product, which takes quite some time, as we all know, and a huge effort, or we can take that product that's already in the US market, in the EU market, and make it available in other markets. The problem tends to be, well, gee, who is the person that is the expert in China? Do we have one? Do we have institutional knowledge or talent within our own company, or resources within our own company that can do a submission to Japan? Well, we have another problem. Gee, a lot of those submissions, when you make a submission in that country, we have to have in-country representation. So, a la carte, so to speak, even when we have companies that have their FDA and EU submissions cleared, they're looking for that next that next market to go into, and they need some help. So through our partnerships that we have at Qt, we can make that happen. So let's look at lane 1. Qt possesses multiple certifications. So we are ISO 9001 2015 certified. We just had the 2015 update done within the last couple of months. I think it was just ahead of the end of last year. What does that mean? Well, we have a quality system. So that is obviously important for the medical industry. Now, the rest of the certifications apply to the safe renderer itself. And Petra gave a little bit of an overview of the safe renderer. I will go into it a little bit more. So our notified body is TÜV Nord. They advised us in some working sessions that, Qt is such a huge software stack. Does the entire software stack need to be certified? And their recommendation was no. What we really should certify are the safety critical tools and libraries that Qt possesses. And that one so far right now is the safe renderer. So the safe renderer, as Petra explained, allows safety critical data to be rendered on a display despite a failure or a reboot or an error in the system. And that information is certified accurate. So not only is the information displayed, but the accuracy of that information is checked and verified. So the safe renderer itself is IEC 62304 certified. So that is the software quality processes for medical devices. We are also IEC 61508 certified. Now 61508, as many of you know, is not required by the medical industry, but Qt is in a number of different industries. And so we're, with those different industries like heavy industry, heavy industry and automation and avionics and such, functional safety is really important. So we have certified to the general functional safety standard 61508. And the ISO 26262 actually applies to automotive. So that is an automotive specific standard. We are in automotive. We're actually, Qt runs the hypervisor for Tesla. So in automotive, there are specific icons, and you're probably very familiar with those icons, the check engine light, the gas light, those icons that come up when something goes wrong. Well, if the digital dashboard of a Tesla automobile it fails, those icons still have to be rendered, and that is done in the safe renderer. So just demonstrating that we do have certifications specific to the medical industry, but we also look at safety and quality across many different industries, and especially have a really attention to detail when it comes to our safety and quality as applies to functional safety and throughout many different industries. So looking at the safe renderer for medical, so we have a current version that just got certified. That version, we allow, or it's compatible to allow static icons, text, and images that you define as safety critical to be rendered on the screen in case there's a failure. These could be included, as applied to the medical industry, alarm icons, message text, and warning diagrams. So that was version 1.0, and that is what is released right now. Our roadmap is the release of version 2.0. That will include the support for rendering of real-time numerical data and real-time waveforms. We understand that the real safety critical information as it applies to medical is what is happening to that patient right now in real time. So we are looking at our roadmap and to support those real-time data and waveforms like heart rate, respiration rate, your EKG signal, your RESP signal, your end-tidal CO2 signal, and support that for the safe renderer. So I had the opportunity to interview an anesthesiologist recently and talk to him about our safe renderer and how it would apply in kind of a use case example in the industry. And I really looked at anesthesia delivery as well. There's a lot of safety critical stuff going on there, right? So I learned a lot. And we try to, we work at Qt, we work very closely with our customers. We also try to work very closely with the end users, your customers. And so in interviewing this director of bioinformatics and analytics in the Department of Anesthesiology, he is an anesthesiologist. He also is into bioinformatics. He's from UCLA Medical Center. We learned the following. Despite the existence of mechanical fail-safe, rendering safety critical information in the event of a computer system failure is extremely important. So in the case of anesthesiology, the electrical or digital display and system goes down. The fail-safe is, valves, mechanical valves and needles to make sure that the patient on the operating table is still under anesthesia, but is also still getting the oxygen that is needed as well. That will never change. That fail-safe system will never be replaced. And there are similar fail-safe systems in other types of devices. Those will not change. Those will not be replaced. However, what we learned from this doctor is that, it's all about not disrupting the procedure, not disrupting the operation. So eyes, the people who are focused on the patient, can remain on the UI UX while system correction, reboot, or shutdown is occurring. So we're not interrupting their line of sight. They're still looking at data on a screen, user interface that is similar to the one you see here on the page. That safety critical information within anesthesia is flow meter readings, percent O2, percent CO2, end-tidal CO2. And so this real-time data and waveform rendering is important because the patient state as applies to their breathing and anesthesia delivery can be surmised in the shape of an end-tidal CO2 waveform. So the doctor, as trained as he is, can look at the waveform and the slope and the shape of the waveform and know the status of that patient. So critical decisions can be made and actions can be taken simply by looking at the end-tidal CO2 waveform in real time. That's why having that rendered continuously is of huge help and will not interrupt the procedure. So that's where this importance that we've been communicated to us. So let's look at lane 2. Lane 2, Qt supported regulatory compliance processes. We say this a lot on our website, in our literature, in our day-to-day conversation. What does this mean? Well, per IEC 62304, Qt is still considered software of unknown profit, SOUP. Although the safe renderer, as we discussed, is 62330 certified, Qt in its entirety is SOUP. So that means and our responsibility as a vendor to provide to you documentation transparency into our development processes, product performance, and internal validation testing. This includes, but is not, not subject to only the quality system, development processes, proof of internal testing, our source code, our QA practices, our test reports, and so much more. What happens is that the nature of the medical industry and the different devices that you are creating all apply to risk, right? So depending on the risk of the device, the class of the device, the FDA, the EU, or someone else, the IEC may look and say, well, we need this type of information from your vendors if you're a class 3 or safety class C versus a safety class B. Depending on your risk, we may need to provide to you different items. So all you have to do is let us know what we need to provide you, and we're happy to do that. Now looking at lane 3, as I mentioned, a number of customers come to us and say, well, gee, we have all of this kind of these understanding of how we're developing the device, but we just fall short, or this regulatory hurdle we need help with. We need help with our market clearance activities all over the world, globally. So, at Qt, one of our values is get to market faster. And as you saw from what Petra had described and went over, there's a development piece and tools and libraries that our customers use that help them get to market faster, to help them develop faster. We've heard from our customers that productivity almost doubles in using Qt as opposed to other solutions or other types of development tools. 84% of our customers have said that they are more productive using our software. Well, that's fine and well in the development stage, but there's a second part of this, as we all know, in medical. Getting over that regulatory hurdle. So when customers have the need, we can plug you into our partner. The Emergo Group is part of, as an underwriter's laboratory company, they're a subsidiary of UL. They're the industry leaders in medical device regulatory consulting and market access. They service more than 2,800 medical device and IVD companies worldwide. They assist with companies of all sizes who have global market clearance regulatory hurdles. And again, it's a la carte. If you have your FDA, submission and clearance tied up pretty well, and you have that under control, but gee, that one market in Brazil is really giving you some problems, we can bring them in at any time and kind of connect you with them for any kind of help. Some of the markets served and services provided, there's a web link there that you can take a look and learn more about them. But they help quicken the customer's time to market outside of software development, outside of the tools that Qt provides. This is our second piece of getting the market faster. And for us, it's a better overall customer experience because we are interested in the full development process from the time very early on in the fuzzy front end, when you're on a napkin or just starting to develop the product, all the way through to product launch. And it's very nice that we can connect ourselves. Sometimes when we go into the regulatory process with our customers, it kind of goes into a black hole. This helps us continue to be involved with you right up until the product is launched. So, that's the kind of our regulatory approach. We also have been working very hard in the last year, a little more than a year, to immerse ourselves fully in the medical industry. So we've been taking some leadership roles. We've been taking some industry advisor roles. We are a member of several medical organizations. Many of you may be familiar with AdvaMed. AdvaMed is the industry voice to the professional industry voice to the FDA, to the EU. We are a full member and part of the digital software and standards working groups. We're also pre-qualified suppliers on the QMed medical device industry vendors list. And we're also part of MassMEDIC. As I mentioned, I work out of the Boston office. So MassMEDIC is kind of the industry professional organization for the New England area, which, as many of you know, is rich in biotech. So AdvaMed is more on the US and international level, and MassMEDIC is kind of in our local regional level around Boston. So again, AdvaMed is a trade association that leads the effort to advance medical technology in order to achieve healthier lives, healthier economies around the world. We are very active in the digital health member, participating in 3 working groups. I personally am on the AdvaMed Digital Software and Standards Working Groups. We're looking to shape critical policy issues that influence the business environment for digital health technologies and applications in the United States and key global markets. And we're working shoulder to shoulder with many of you. from Johnson & Johnson, Medtronic, to Baxter, Boston Scientific, Abbott, and many more. So it's really a pleasure and a privilege to be able to sit on these working groups and work shoulder to shoulder with our customers, sharing the burden of looking at our industry, how to innovate, and how to obviously work with the FDA and work with the EU to get over these regulatory hurdles and get to market faster. And we also participate in educational seminars and networking events with opportunities to speak on current industry issues and topics affecting our industry. And we're very close with AdvaMed. We're huge fans of them, and we appreciate having membership with them. And so where AdvaMed is on the US and international level, MassMEDIC is in, as I mentioned, the local Massachusetts medical device community, more New England. So we work very closely with MassMEDIC. And again, some of the same type of stuff, working shoulder to shoulder with our colleagues here in the industry in the local New England area. So I'd just like to wrap up with a couple of use cases, just show you where Qt is, or devices built with Qt are in action and what we're doing. So the first use case I'd like to look at is we are in an anesthesia device. It's a Medic is our customer. They're based out of Belgium. Why did they choose Qt? Well, fast UI development, the cross-platform code reuse, and they're able to get a certified medical system to market quickly because of our support, because of the way we support the 62304 standard, and because of the way we work with them from beginning to end as they are trying to bring their product to market. What's really interesting about this device is this white screen you see over here that the doctor is looking at is actually an 18.5-inch touchscreen user interface, and that is all built on Qt. It's running very dynamic. It's running different waveforms and providing different information, and it's all on a very huge, very large, very robust touchscreen. We also are in surgical simulation. So OrCamp is the most realistic medical simulation suite. So it's hands-on skill training for doctors in simulated operating theater environment, including an operating table, C-arm, and all control functions. The entire user experience and digital touchscreen user interface for this simulation suite is built with Qt. And finally, we are in infusion pumps. One of them that we are in is an Ivenix infusion pump. Fully touchscreen, class 3 device, FDA certified. They were looking for an intuitive user interface similar to a smartphone experience, right? Because the benchmark for these touchscreen user interfaces exist in our pockets or our purses. And so, but it has to be safe, reliable, and effective. So they chose Qt because it's a cross-platform development tool. It's known to create stable, flexible applications. They wanted to increase product usability and system stability and safety while reducing costs and time to market. So product usability, people are going to use this product because it's more modern versus the old rotary knobs and mechanical type of interfaces. And the accelerated prototype development capabilities of Qt, Petrif had gone over a few different tools where you could fast and quickly prototype. I can tell you that Design Studio, we're also looking to help and aid in companies that are doing human factors testing. So, really quickly be able to deploy a user interface on the actual target device, do your human factors testing, get feedback, and then be able to adjust and adopt and evolve that based on the results from that testing. Really, truly prototyping, truly testing and getting the best version of this, but very quickly and very easily. So I'd like to open up the floor for some Q&A. We have about 10 minutes left. I'm just looking at the Q&A section. Please type your questions in the Q&A area, and we will answer. So I do have a question that came through. I'll read it off. I think this is what I'm going to throw to Petrif. So I've worked with Qt widgets to quickly develop GUIs quickly through Designer tool. Is there a similar tool for Qt Quick /QML so that someone unfamiliar with programming can get a UI up and running?
Right, thank you, Roger. So that's a very good question. That's precisely what Qt Design Studio aims to be. So Qt Design Studio is a drag and drop environment, basically, that allows you not so. So if you look at the Qt widget designer, it's more of a form editor, but what we are trying to do with Qt Design Studio, it's more than that. So with Qt Design Studio, you're able to import graphics, you're able to prototype fast, you're able to create simple UI logic, and you're able to actually preview your user interface directly into the device. So, and to actually achieve all of that, there is no prerequisite to, let's say, be familiar with programming whatsoever. There is no prerequisite to be familiar with Qt or QML whatsoever, right? It's an easy to use and very intuitive drag and drop environment that enables you to create user interfaces, sophisticated user interfaces. So yes, Qt Design Studio is not just a replacement. I think it goes way beyond that. So it's a lot more powerful than the old Qt widget designer.
Okay. Let's see. Second question, I think I am going to field. So a question comes up. It is, you know, when we're talking about IEC 62304, what is, I'm sorry, I just lost my window. Hold on one second. I apologize. Oh, right. Okay, got it back. Safety class. So when we talk about safety class for 62304, what is the safety class for Qt? And you know, that's a great question, and we get that question all the time. And in speaking with our notified body, you know, the safety class in 62304 are A, B, and C. However, Qt itself is not a medical device. So the risk analysis is done on our customer's side to classify their device, their safety classes A, B, and C. In saying that, Qt, because the concern here is that well, is Qt in a safety class C or the highest safety class or the highest risk safety class, you know, and developed into that? And the answer is yes. We're in class 1, class 2, class 3 devices. We're in safety class A, B, and C. But Qt itself is not a medical device. So when Qt as a standalone, you know, if you really look at it, it would be A, because there's no, you know, as a standalone, there's no risk to a patient. It's a UI, UX development tool. However, now when you put into a device, and that device could be anywhere from class 1 to class 3. It depends how the device software is partitioned. There's a lot of factors in that. The medical device manufacturer will classify that device as an A, B, or C, and then we'll look to Qt to provide the necessary documentation to de-risk us as a vendor. So in looking at that, it really depends on our customers' risk analysis, but I can assure you that Qt has been built into all types of risk, you know, all levels of risk type devices, from class 1, you know, devices that are basically risk-free or very low risk, to all the way up to implantables, which are some of the highest risk devices out there. Okay, third question. From what I understood, the Safe Renderer system is working with QML only. Is that the case, or can we use Qt widgets with it too? Petra, I'm going to hand that one off to you.
Right. Thank you, Roger. Very good question. So actually, no. I mean, there is no such thing as limitations on the Safe Render. So the Safe Render is, I mean, first of all, it doesn't really kind of intersect with Qt whatsoever, right? Yes, it is easier. We are making it easy to actually integrate with Qt, but as a Safe Render as such, there is no limitations whether you use QML, Qt widget, or for that matter, another kind of technology, right, that you want to create your user interface. So no, there is no limitations as such. It's pretty, it's a standard pure C++ code that can be integrated with any kind of UI technology. Okay.
So we have a third question. It's actually a two-part question here, and I'm trying to figure out how to answer this, because it might be a combination of your knowledge, Petra, and my knowledge. So we might need to work together on this one.
Right,
so the question came in, and the question was, Yocto Medical Certification Indemnification, versus something like QNX.
Right.
Now I know QNX has a certified kernel that is 62304 certified, but I may need your help in looking at that and you know, your technical expertise when it comes
right,
to
right. Oh, that's a very good one. I mean, certainly Yocto is not at the same certification level that QNX is today, for example. So this is not something that we as a Qt company are, let's say, looking after. This is, as Roger already explained, the certified part of Qt basically is the safe render, and we're also providing different artifacts such as the test results, test coverage, unit tests, and the results of those unit tests. So we have this very detailed quality assurance process, and that is something that we are providing. Now, the rest of the stack, like operating systems, right, such as any kind of Linux flavored operating system, this is something that the operating system vendors should take care. And we are not we're not an operating system vendor, right? We're just providing a pre-integrated stack with Yocto, and that does not limit you to that. So it's a reference stack for you to kind of get started easily. And then once you're ready to certify, then you need to make sure that the rest of the stack is certified. But absolutely, QNX, yes, to certify the whole stack, QNX would absolutely make that a lot easier because it is already certified. So.
Okay, great. If there are any other questions, we'll wait. I think we have a couple minutes left. Any other last minute questions, please type them into the Q&A section.
Yep, I was going to say we have about 3 minutes left. So while we're waiting, if anyone else has any questions, this is Erica again. Just going to quickly go over. We did record this event. We'll be making the slides and the recording available within the next couple business days. And please, keep your eyes open for any future events because we are going to be doing some more webinars around what we are doing in the medical industry.
I don't see anything else coming through, Erica, so I think we can end our session today.
All right, I think you're right. And thank you everyone again for coming, and thank you for both Roger and Petra for putting this presentation together.
No problem. We appreciate everyone's attendance today and have a great day.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Thanks, everyone.